The moment you pull back, something ancient wakes up inside her, and what she does next will tell you everything you were never taught about desire, fear, and power. When a man loses interest, it doesn't register as indifference on the other side. It lands as a disruption, a sudden silence where attention used to live, and the human brain hates disruption more than rejection. This is where most men misunderstand what they're seeing. They think attraction is logical. It isn't. It's emotional gravity. And when gravity weakens, the body panics before the mind understands why. At first, she doesn't think, he's gone. She thinks, something feels off. Her nervous system notices the delay in your replies, the absence of initiative, the shift in tone. These micro changes trigger uncertainty, and uncertainty is louder than certainty ever was. This is why losing interest doesn't make you invisible. It makes you noticeable in a different, more dangerous way. Here's the truth most people won't tell you. Attention is not love, but the removal of attention feels like loss. And loss activates behavior. Not always healthy behavior. Not always honest behavior, but revealing behavior. This is when her reactions stop being about you and start being about her internal balance. Some women lean forward. They become warmer, more available, more curious. Not because they suddenly want you more, but because the mind tries to restore equilibrium. The connection slipping away creates a need to regain control. This isn't manipulation. It's instinct. The same instinct that makes people chase closure, answers, or reassurance when something important feels unstable. Other women lean back. They grow colder, sharper, dismissive. This isn't confidence, it's protection. When interest fades, vulnerability feels risky, so distance becomes armor. If she convinces herself she never cared, she doesn't have to feel the discomfort of caring alone. Watch this closely. Detachment can be a reaction, not a decision. What matters isn't which direction she moves. What matters is that she moves at all. Indifference is still engagement. Emotional stillness is not. When you lose interest and she reacts, you're witnessing the mechanics of emotional investment. You're seeing how she handles uncertainty, how she manages perceived loss, and how she attempts to restore her sense of worth in the dynamic. This is where men often sabotage themselves. They misread the reaction as renewed attraction and rush back in, flooding the space they just created. Or they interpret coldness as rejection and overcorrect with explanations, validation, or pursuit. Both responses collapse the tension that revealed the truth in the first place. Silence, when intentional and respectful, is not a tactic, it's a mirror. And what shows up in that mirror isn't who she pretends to be when things are comfortable. It's who she is when comfort is removed. That's the version that tells you how she bonds, how she fears, and how she values herself. Losing interest isn't about punishment or power, it's about alignment. When your energy changes, the dynamic reveals itself. And if you're paying attention, you'll realize this moment isn't about her reaction at all. It's about what you're finally able to see when you stop performing and start observing. Most men are taught to chase responses. Few are taught to study them, and that difference changes everything. When the initial shock settles, a deeper process begins. This is where her reaction becomes quieter, but more revealing. The noise fades and patterns emerge. This phase isn't dramatic, it's psychological. And if you've ever wondered why some connections suddenly flip after you pull back, this is why. Once she realizes the shift isn't temporary, her mind starts rewriting the story. Human beings don't like unanswered questions, especially about their own value. So the brain fills the gaps. If you don't explain why you changed, she will explain it for you, not out loud, internally. And those explanations shape everything that follows. Some women interpret your loss of interest as a reflection of themselves. They ask silently, "What did I do wrong?" This can awaken insecurity that existed long before you entered her life. If that insecurity runs deep, she may attempt to prove her worth. More effort, more affection, more availability, not because she feels powerful, but because she feels threatened. Attention becomes a way to stabilize self-image. Others interpret your withdrawal as a challenge to their autonomy. In this case, the narrative becomes, "I don't need this." The emotional system shifts into self-protection mode. She may minimize the connection, focus on flaws, or suddenly highlight independence. This isn't strength, it's a coping mechanism. Detachment helps her avoid confronting vulnerability. Here's what most men miss. These reactions are not about attraction alone, they're about identity. When someone invests emotionally, even lightly, that investment becomes part of how they see themselves. When you lose interest, it doesn't just threaten the connection, it threatens the story she tells herself about being chosen, desired, or secure. This is why logic fails in these moments. You might think, if she likes me, she'll show it. Or, if she doesn't, she won't care. Reality is messier. Attraction mixed with uncertainty creates contradiction. She might think about you more while acting distant. She might act engaged while feeling confused. Behavior and emotion don't always align under stress. Your role here is not to correct the story she's telling herself. It's to observe which story she chooses. Does she seek clarity or does she seek control? Does she communicate or does she perform? Does she respect the space or does she panic inside it? These choices are not random. They are habits formed long before you. A woman who can sit with uncertainty without self-abandonment will respond calmly. She won't chase, but she won't disappear emotionally either. She may check in honestly without pressure. That's emotional maturity. A woman who equates attention with worth will struggle here, and a woman who equates vulnerability with danger will armor up. None of this makes anyone good or bad. It makes them human, but it does make compatibility visible. Losing interest acts like a stress test. It compresses time. What you might have discovered months later shows up in days. This is why restraint matters. If you rush to soothe discomfort, you erase the data. If you over-explain, you remove the space where truth forms. Calm distance allows her authentic coping style to surface, and that style will be the same one she brings into conflict, commitment, and intimacy later. The hardest part for men is tolerating the ambiguity, not knowing how she feels, not controlling the outcome. But that discomfort is the price of clarity. When you stop trying to manage her reaction, you finally get to see it, and what you see in this phase tells you more than affection ever could. After the internal stories settle, behavior becomes intentional. This is where her reaction shifts from instinct to strategy, whether she realizes it or not. And this is the phase that decides whether the dynamic deepens, collapses, or quietly resets on different terms. If she leans toward you again, it will feel subtle at first, a message that doesn't demand but invites, a moment of warmth that feels familiar, almost nostalgic. This isn't desperation, it's testing. She's checking whether the door is still open without risking her dignity. This is how emotionally aware women move. They offer presence, not pressure. If she leans away, the distance becomes cleaner. Less emotion in the voice, shorter responses, fewer openings. This isn't random withdrawal, it's recalibration. She's deciding how much of herself to invest based on the signal you're sending. In her mind, she's matching energy, even if the match is slightly off. There's a third reaction that confuses most men. She becomes unpredictable, warm one day, cold the next, engaged, then absent. This isn't a game in the way people casually say it is. It's ambivalence. Two opposing needs fighting inside her at the same time. One wants connection, the other wants safety. The result is inconsistency. This is where men often mistake intensity for interest. Emotional fluctuation can feel magnetic, but intensity without stability is not desire. It's tension, and tension can be addictive while still being unsustainable. If you mistake this for passion, you'll build on a shaky foundation. What matters now is not how much she reaches out, but how she respects the new rhythm. Does she adapt without resentment? Does she communicate without accusation? Does she allow space without punishment? These behaviors reveal whether she sees connection as collaboration or control. Your loss of interest didn't create these traits. It exposed them. When comfort disappears, people default to their emotional blueprint. Some move with grace, some move with fear, some move with confusion. All of it is information. This is also where your own discipline is tested. When attention returns, even lightly, the ego wants to grab it, to re-engage fully, to feel wanted again. But if you do that too quickly, you erase the boundary that created clarity. You return to the old dynamic without understanding it. Holding steady doesn't mean being cold, it means being congruent. If your interest genuinely shifted, let your behavior reflect that calmly. Mixed signals don't create attraction here. They create anxiety. Consistency, even when it leads to distance, creates respect. A woman who senses inner stability in you will adjust accordingly. She won't feel the need to escalate or retreat dramatically. She'll either meet you where you are or recognize the mismatch and step away. Both outcomes are clean. Both are healthy. A woman who senses instability may try to regain balance by controlling the dynamic. More questions, more emotional probes, more testing. This isn't malice. It's an attempt to anchor herself when the ground feels uneven. This phase teaches a powerful lesson most men learn too late. You don't build attraction by doing more. You build it by being aligned. When your interest, actions, and boundaries point in the same direction, the other person is forced to respond authentically. And in that authenticity, you discover whether what you lost was interest or illusion. At this stage, the outcome is already forming, even if neither of you says it out loud. The emotional dust has settled enough for truth to feel unavoidable. This is where her reaction stops changing and starts stabilizing. And stability, more than intensity, is the real indicator of where things are going. If she remains present without pressing, that tells you something rare. She can tolerate uncertainty without collapsing into fear or control. She isn't trying to force reassurance, and she isn't punishing distance. She's grounded. This kind of woman doesn't need constant proof to feel chosen. She chooses herself first, and that allows her to choose you freely. If she fades quietly, without drama or accusation, that also tells you something important. She recognizes when energy isn't being matched and knows when to step back with dignity. There's no need to win, convince, or extract validation. This is not loss. This is discernment. And many men confuse this calm exit with indifference, when it's actually self-respect. But if she lingers in frustration, oscillating between closeness and withdrawal, the issue isn't chemistry. It's emotional regulation. She's still seeking resolution, not connection. And resolution can become a loop, one that drains both people while never truly moving forward. This is where you must understand a difficult truth. Not every strong reaction means the connection mattered deeply. Sometimes it means the wound was already there. Your loss of interest simply touched it. And when that happens, no amount of reassurance or effort will heal what predates you. Men often feel responsible here. They think, if I explain better, if I show more care, if I fix the confusion. But clarity doesn't come from fixing someone else's emotional history. It comes from honoring your own. If your interest shifted, forcing yourself back into alignment for the sake of comfort will cost you later. This phase reveals whether she relates through presence or through tension. Presence feels calm, even in uncertainty. Tension feels charged, even in closeness. One builds slowly, the other burns quickly. Only one lasts. You'll also notice how she speaks about you now. Does she respect your pace, or does she frame it as a flaw? Does she stay curious, or does she assign blame? Language is a window into emotional maturity. People who feel secure describe experiences. People who feel threatened assign motives. What you do next matters less than how you do it. If you stay, stay honestly. If you step away, do it cleanly. Dragging things out to avoid discomfort teaches the wrong lesson to both of you. Discomfort avoided now becomes resentment later. The quiet confidence to let outcomes unfold without manipulation is rare. But it's the difference between relationships built on mutual choice and those built on emotional leverage. When she reacts to your loss of interest, she's not auditioning for your approval. She's revealing how she handles uncertainty, boundaries, and self-worth. And you're doing the same. This is not about winning or losing. It's about recognizing when connection is natural and when it's being negotiated. By the time this phase ends, the truth will feel obvious. Not loud, not dramatic, just clear. By now, you can feel it. The tension has either dissolved into calm understanding or hardened into distance. This final phase isn't about reaction anymore. It's about meaning. What this experience teaches you about attraction, about women, and about yourself will shape every connection you enter next. Here's the truth most men never hear. Losing interest is not a failure of masculinity, it's feedback. It means your inner compass noticed something before your mind could justify it. Many men ignore that signal because they were taught that consistency means staying, even when alignment fades. But consistency without honesty becomes self-betrayal. When a woman reacts to your loss of interest, she isn't proving whether she's high value or low value. She's revealing her relationship with uncertainty. And uncertainty is inevitable in every long-term bond. Careers shift, health changes, desire fluctuates. The ability to remain grounded through emotional weather is what sustains intimacy over time. If her response was calm and self-respecting, remember that. That's what emotional safety looks like. Not fireworks, not constant reassurance, but steadiness when the ground moves. If her response was chaotic or controlling, remember that too. Not with judgment, but with clarity. Chemistry can distract you from patterns that later become problems. And if her response was indifference, understand this. Sometimes people were never as invested as we imagined. The mind fills gaps with hope. Silence reveals reality. That doesn't diminish your worth, it refines your standards. This experience also mirrors something important about you. How did you handle her reaction? Did you stay grounded or did you chase relief? Did you hold your boundary or did you negotiate against your own feelings? The way you respond to someone else's discomfort reveals your relationship with guilt, approval, and self-trust. Men who grow from this don't become colder. They become clearer. They stop confusing attention with connection. They stop interpreting emotional spikes as depth. They learn that the right dynamic doesn't require strategy. It requires alignment. A woman who is right for you won't need you to disappear to value you, and you won't need to withdraw to feel respected. Interest will ebb and flow naturally without fear driving the response. That's not fantasy, that's emotional compatibility. As you move forward, remember this moment. Not to repeat it deliberately, but to recognize its lesson. Pay attention to how people respond when certainty is removed. That's where truth lives. Before you go, I want you to reflect honestly. When you pulled back, what did her reaction reveal about her? And what did it reveal about you? Write your answer in the comments. I read them. If this resonated, like the video, subscribe for deeper truths they don't teach you, and share this with a friend who needs clarity right now.